The total amount that I spent is $1,000. That's more than I thought. Over the past 2 years, I've been training and competing full-time in order to get my first singles ATP point and put me on the rankings amongst some of the greats, including Novak, Rafa, Murray, and about 2,000 others. And guys, we finally did it. Yeah! Since my journey started 2 years ago, I've played over 37 tournaments in over 11 different countries throughout the world. And over the last 12 months, I've managed to gain 1 singles ATP point, 7 ITF Pro Circuit singles points, and 23 ATP doubles points. But the question is, how much did all of that traveling and tournaments and training cost me? Let's break it down. So we're going to break it down into 3 main categories: tournaments and travel costs, training costs, and we've got equipment costs. We're going to be looking at the prices since the start of my Road to 1 ATP point journey in January of 2022 when I officially started playing ITF Pro Circuit tournaments. If you want to find out how much I spent before the Road to 1 ATP point series, there'll be a video linked down in the description which you can watch where it breaks it all down up until this point. So let's start off with tournament and travel costs. This is where it really begins to add up. So hotels is going to be one of the biggest expenses that I'm paying out for when I'm traveling. We're going to take an average of $125 per night. So as you can see on screen, I spent 57 nights in hotels, and at $125 per night, that comes out to a total of $7,125 in 2022 on hotel rooms. This year I've already visited 7 countries to get my first ATP point, and so far this year I've spent 80 nights in hotel rooms. That's quite a lot, which comes out to in total $10,000 for hotel rooms. So over the last 2 years, I've spent $17,125 on hotel rooms. That's quite a lot. So of course I have to get to the tournament somehow, so I'm gonna have to take a flight there and a flight back. So overall in 2022, I took 14 different flights. We're gonna again average around $200 per flight. So last year I spent $2,800 on those 14 flights. This year I've had slightly more. We've had 18 flights. That's $3,600 on flights. So in total that comes out to $6,400 on flights. So now of course, as well as getting to the venue, you need some way to get from the airport to the site, or potentially having a hire car to drive around. So in total in 2022, we had about 30 days where we were using a hire car, around $80 per day. That comes out to $2,400. This year there haven't been so many tournaments where we've needed a car, so only 16 days, but obviously maybe slightly more expensive this year, so $100 per time, coming out to $1,600 in total. And then on top, obviously some taxi services from the hotel to the site. Let's call that $250 overall in total, because there weren't that many, which comes out to $4,250 for cars, taxis, trains, stuff like that. And of course, when you're at the event, you have to pay an entry fee. You have to actually pay something to turn up. Usually that's around $35. I played obviously 36 events over the last 2 years, coming out to $1,260 in total, as well as an extra $200 which I accumulated due to late withdrawal fines, which basically means I pulled out too late and you get a $50 fine every time you do that. So that's my bad. So like I said, some of these hotels go off the all-inclusive model, but some don't. In 2022, we spent around $1,200 on food. This is just on myself. This year, there were 5 events which were non-all-inclusive, and around 25 days where we were doing that, coming out to about $1,000 in total. So overall, how much have I spent on tournaments and travel costs? Well, the total comes out to $31,335. Right, so with section 1 out of the way, I think that's going to be the heaviest blow in this video so far. Let's take a look at the training that I'm doing at home to get myself fit, to get myself prepared. Let's start off with squad sessions. These are usually sessions where I'm playing and sparring with other players in a kind of squad environment. I did a lot more last year than I did this year, which was 96 sessions last year at around $28 per session, coming out to $2,680 in total. Whereas this year I've only done around 30 sessions, mainly at the beginning of the year, just to get myself back into hitting balls, coming out to $900 in total. So overall that's $3,580 for kind of group squads and sessions. So as well as squads, you also need one-to-one sessions where you can really work on some of the details in your game. You can have a coach watching exactly what you're doing on the match court, and then you can work on it in practice. Last year I didn't have many one-to-one sessions. I started working with Ashley from the Tennis Mentor channel right at the end of the year. So we had 5 sessions together at $35, coming out to $200 in total. Now since then I've actually started working with a different coach. I think it was just too difficult to go all the way down to where he's based, down in the south of England, for where I'm based, and it was really difficult to see each other on a regular basis now that I'm training a lot more, but I'm now working with a coach more local to me. Now, over the last few months, this coach has also been working with Lucian as well as myself, and so what we've been doing is kind of a training day where I will have a 1 hour one-to-one, Lucian will have a 1 hour one-to-one, and we'll do a 1.5 hour training session in the afternoon, working on specific things, but having a coach there all of the time. So I really felt that that's really been expediting my game and making me make improvements a lot faster. So we've had 16 of these training days at $125 each, roughly coming out to $2,000 for those training sessions. And of course, my coach has been able to come to one tournament with me. I think he'll be coming to a lot more in the future. And of course, you've got court hiring costs here in the UK, which can become quite expensive. So we'll add an extra $1,000 for all of that inclusive. So that comes out to $4,400 in total for that one-to-one coaching session. Now, of course, you guys have seen me injured over the last few years quite a lot. So I've had to have a lot of physio sessions to make sure that I can get back on court as quickly as possible. So overall, we're gonna say about 100 sessions over the last 2 years. So we're gonna take $75 on average per session, which comes out to $7,500 on physio costs over the last 2 years. And finally, to keep myself in shape, I'm part of the local gym, which is costing me about $100 per month. Since the beginning of the journey, we've had 21 months now, so that cost is $2,100 in total. Which means that the total amount that I've spent on my training over the last 2 years has been $16,380. Right, now finally, the last segment is going to be equipment. So this is rackets, strings, shoes, clothes, all of that type of stuff. So I've been fortunate enough to have sponsors for some of my clothing and my rackets. So for our clothing, fan team have been sponsoring us. There'll be a link in the description where you can go check out what they're doing. But I've been wearing kind of these clothes with the classic F on them. They're not available for sale, just more as a promotional thing to kind of help promote their message and their cause. Also for rackets, I'm sponsored by Dunlop. So I've been using their rackets for 2 years now. For those of you guys that want to know, I use the Dunlop CX200 racket. Strings, I use Dunlop Explosive Bite, and so when it comes to equipment costs, those are obviously all covered by those two sponsors, which I'm super grateful for. However, what is not covered is my tennis shoes. Now, I go through tennis shoes at an alarming rate. So over the last 2 years, I think I must have gone through about 32 pairs of shoes. At $80 per shoe, that's $2,560 in total for my tennis shoes. So, the total amount that I spent in the last 2 years getting my 1 ATP point is $52,275. That's quite a lot. But I have earned some prize money over the last few months. You know, I'm not going to boast about it because it is quite a lot. Over the last 2 years, I've been able to accumulate $2,384 in prize money. Big time. That's quite depressing from ITF events. I also got some money from the Pro League and a few British Tour events. So I want to say in total, for my first ATP point, it has cost me $50,000. Now at the end, I just would like to add about how I'm able to, fund my journey and how it actually works. So I know some of you are going to go down in the comments and write, oh, your parents are so rich, or how do you have the money to do that? Or basically all of these comments, I've read them 1,000 times before. I would like to say that this YouTube channel is what allows me to fund my journey and allows me to pay all of these expenses. So I'm obviously super fortunate that I've been able to fund my journey through this. The main sources of income are the YouTube ad revenue, YouTube channel members, you've got sponsors, so like Fantium and like Dunlop. And then of course you have some video sponsors where you'll do a 30-second to 1 minute integration and they'll obviously pay to be in these YouTube videos. And that's essentially how I make the money to be able to afford what I'm doing. But I am working super hard behind the scenes to make these videos happen, planning, scripting, editing. I do most of that myself. Which leads me to my last point of this video, which is what is happening to the Road to 1 ATP Point series. No, I'm not stopping. I'm not retiring from tennis or from YouTube. We're going to be starting the Road to Top 1000 series, where my aim is basically to gain 1,000 ranking spots by the end of 2024. So that's going to be my goal, that's going to be the new series. So if you're excited, make sure you drop a like down below, and I can't wait to be sharing my road to top 1000 with you guys over the next year. I'm really excited to make it happen, and if you are too, make sure that you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.